Hello, I am Umbrenero and welcome back to Umbrenero's Life. Today's video is 4 Seasons of Paintings, Summer. We are on to the third part of this series, and I'm going to say it now. This part and the next part are not quite so pretty, but it's a artistic direction that I end up going for part of these two, and you'll see what I mean by the end of this one and of the next. So first thing first, I needed to get my browns together for the trees of my little landscape that I've been painting, and I showed some of the background process that I have been doing throughout, which is mixing my paints as I was going, and I kind of wanted to try to give a little bit of those glimpses of how I came to get some of the colors that I was using. And for a lot of the trees and wood related things that I was doing, I was mixing 3 different browns just to get that wood coloring and textures that just were needed. So yes, it doesn't look like a lot was happening right here, but I was actually grabbing all of the paints that I was going to need because I decided out of the blue I was going to work on this video in particular, and I was just going with the flow and trying to find the colors I needed. So you can see I grabbed 2 different grays and a black paint, which I need for the bridge that is in this painting and also my rocks and stuff like that. And then here I'm like, yep, I'm just gonna jump right in and just do what I need to do. So in the summer, my reference photo that I was using was not a summer photo. It was more of a sad winter and spring photo. And so my reference was really just a very, very rough outline, and I had to build all of the trees here because I was trying to remember where exactly some of these trees are and where are the leaves covering and making it harder to see through. But I also wanted to try to show some of the areas that would have been slightly hidden by the leaves, which when I get farther into it, you will see it a little bit more. But I went in first, added all of the trees that I could for the summer section, and I was really thinking back to how it looked this last summer. It was a lot of green, and it was very I'm trying to think of the word. It was very green, and it just made sense for it to be as bright and lively as it ended up being. But like I said before, the grays were going to come in for my bridge here that I had to do a little bit of mixing on the fly to get the color right, because initially the color I mixed. I was testing it on the plate that I'm using as a palette here, just to kind of see if it's the right shade and all of that. And it's like, oh, this is close, but it's not quite. And then I realized, oh, I made part of this too dark. So that central area, right there when I tried to cover it with the lighter gray that I mixed, I'm like, wait a second, this is the color I needed for the center, not this dark, dark color. I need to fix this. So in came the process of fixing something when it's too dark, but it is what it is. And then it meant making the far edge as light as I needed it. It was going to be a slight pain, and it was, but I made it work. Yes, there are spots that ended up having a lot more paint than they actually needed, but accidents happen and you just have to go with the flow sometimes, because that's exactly what I did with that. So with those done, I wanted to fill in some of the rocks, because in the summer the water in this river gets kind of low, so you can see more rocks through it and you can actually see some of the dirt. And I kind of wanted to show that off, like, hey, here is an area where normally you don't see the dirt, you're seeing the water, but it's that time of year and you can walk between these rocks. You can walk up to a couple that are a little farther out. No, I didn't draw every single one because that would have taken hours. And also just trying to remember where they all are is not the easiest, especially since at the time I was painting this part of the river is now covered in ice, and last winter it wasn't. So it's like I can't even go take a peek and say, oh, there's a few rocks right there. Nope, I had to do all this from memory. But it is what it is. So over to the side, I was painting the color for the water. And surprisingly, in the summer and fall, it's when the water feels to be the brightest. And with it being a river, yes, there are logs in the water, but trying to add those in would have been a little more difficult, especially in spots because it would just look like long rocks just sitting there. And it would have made the water have a darker feel to it, which I didn't want to have, because the day I was thinking of when I was doing this painting, the sky was very bright blue, and it just made sense to have the water be reflecting the sky. So all of this part was done before I let the chaos in my brain have fun. And in reality, my brain had a little too much fun with what I ended up doing, because this year these trees were heavily leafed. And knowing that meant I was going to have a lot of green. But before I could put that in, I needed to add the sky. And I'm glad I added the sky before I even started the green, because that would have been a pain otherwise. And I did choose the less treed side to do for the summer section strategically, I would say, but it doesn't seem strategic, and I wanted to bring my own style into this, just to make it feel different and not be a genuine landscape painting. So I went in with a nice green just to start giving idea of, all right, there's some leaves here. Tried to make it look like leaves with my brush strokes, which was mostly just dabbing the paint on the page, and it's like, well, not the page, on the canvas. And it's like, all right, I have some of these areas that are a little more detailed. I need to get this filled in. Then it's like, all right, I'm going to start doing large strokes, and I'm going to go over these branches because there's leaves on all sides of them. And it's like, I didn't want to paint in every single leaf individually, but I also wanted to kind of include some of the grass that is in this park by this river. So made that a slightly darker color, knowing a lot of green is going to go right over the top and right on it, because like I said, there were a lot of leaves this year. But that's where I tried to use lighter greens when I got to those areas, because I didn't want them to fully get absorbed. Because then here I started adding more of the lighter leaves to kind of fill in the trees quite a bit more and all that. And since there's a park in the background here, I did want to try to include the shelter that's at the park. So I end up trying something that I'm not sure of, like thinking about it afterwards, but it's like I wanted to try to include the building, and I tried to single out a few trees by adding a little bit of darkness here and there. Just trying a lot of different things. But yeah, here I was trying to add the shelter because I wanted it to have that feeling like it was behind some of the leaves and you're just seeing it slightly. In all, it turned out pretty good. And it's the third part of this little mini-series. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, I am Umbrenero. Bye!